nice. Let's welcome our panel here to the spin cycle on the end. Ladies and gentlemen, the pride and joy of Leapers Fork, Tennessee. He is
Back
the Cowboy,
again.
James Storr.
Leapers Fork? I didn't know that. I'm going to be heading there pretty soon.
Among many accolades, proud to say the very first inductee into the TNA Hall of Fame, the Icon Sting, ladies and gentlemen, is here.
Showtime!
He will be going into bout for glory as the World Heavyweight Champion, A double Austin Aries.
You're walking out of box.
And of course, quite simply, the greatest of all time. Give it up for the Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle, ladies and gentlemen.
USA!
USA!
Kurt, I got to ask you something. We're doing a lot in England, and of course we are there as well.
UK!
UK. We haven't talked to you since the Olympics. Were you happy with how things turned out for London?
Yeah, I mean, for us as a country, we dominated. We ended up. I thought, first of all, England, London, they did a phenomenal job. I would have liked to see more wrestling. During the hours in the night. What do you call it? Prime time. Yes, thank you. But overall, 48 gold medals, and having the overall medals, and that is just as important as our economy when it comes to being a world power. When you have a country like China, sneaking up behind you, and they end up winning the Olympics and winning more medals, that I hate to say it, and I love to say it, the same aspect is when you become the best in the world in sports, which is just as important as anything else these days, then you become the world power. So the United States maintains its value as the world power, and that's a good thing.
Well, I'll tell you what, give it up for Team GB, because Great Britain did, for the size, they dominated.
They did third or fourth.
Great showing, no question about it. Well, let's talk about something that's, I guess near and dear to our hearts, and that is, of course, the announcement that TNA Wrestling is going to have our very first Hall of Fame ceremony with Bound for Glory. How cool is that, huh? I think it's about time we get to recognize. And I just happen to be standing next to the man who will be the first inductee. And that's, that's quite an honor, I'm sure, Sting. But at the same time, it's a little bit of pressure, right? I mean, you got to...
Wasn't it you that was standing next to me that said, I think it's you, Steve? Yeah, it was you.
Slammiversary on the stage, right?
I mean, people think that I was in on it, I knew about it. I had no clue whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I didn't believe with anything in me that it was going to be me. I was doing radio all that week leading up to the pay-per-view, and, they were asking me, what if it's you? I said, well, it's not me. Then no one's talked to me about it, so...
Right. And certainly then, somebody would make you aware of the fact, right?
But this is, yeah, exactly. I mean, by the time the video, Dixie says, okay, everybody's eyes up to the big screen, and we're watching the thing, and you're standing next to me, all the wrestlers, Hogan, everybody, and I look up there and I see me. And I'm wrestling somebody, I go, oh, well, they had to get some footage of me getting beat up by somebody, whoever it is. Then the next piece was me, then the next piece was me, and finally, I'm so dense, because I've been dropped on my head quite a few times over the years, 25 years. JB says, I think it's you, Steve.
Unless there's a bit of great error in the video production truck.
I had to walk out there and accept, but what was your question?
There's a lot of pressure, I think, to be the first one in.
I'm sure it was, especially on the spot. I mean, you got to address the crowd. You got to have some kind of words, something to say, and got a match later on that night, a world title match against Bobby Roode. It was a big night. I mean, I had a lot on my mind.
Yeah. And certainly now you look ahead to this night, the night before Bound for Glory is when we're going to celebrate your career. And who knows what that's going to be like, because there may be some guests that show up. I don't know. You probably won't know about it if they do.
Boy.
You know what I mean? They probably won't tell you.
I'm already starting to sweat.
Well, my question is, we know the Icon Sting is going in first, and a great choice at that. Who should go in number 2? And, I got to say, there's a lot of people that could make an argument for people on this panel. Maybe some guests that may go in too. We'll find out. Let's take her for a spin. Who should be number 2? Let's go to the Cowboy James Storr.
To me, I think it's a tie between Jeff and Jerry Jarrett. They're the two guys that were on a fishing boat with Bob Ryder, who came up with the whole idea of TNA wrestling. And, from the Nashville days and seeing the whole thing, being here since day one and seeing it from the Nashville days till now, it took a lot of hard work back then for those two guys to just to keep the company afloat. So I would have to say Jeff and Jerry Jarrett.
Very popular answer, no question about it. Kurt Angle. I've asked this question many times to many different people, and the The second person most people say is you. What are your thoughts on that, and who do you think should be number 2?
I hope I'm not elected in the Hall of Fame till after I retire. I would have to admit James Storm is right to a certain degree that it is Jeff Jarrett. Perhaps not to rain on Sting's parade, but I thought that Jeff was going to be the first because he did start the company along with his father. The other one, surprisingly, and it's not so surprising, is Mr. and Mrs. Carter and Dixie. They kept the company afloat. When the company went under, they were there for them, thank God. And, you know, they really backed it up. So, you know, you can always be inducted. You don't have to be a wrestler. You know, you could be the owner or the provider of the company. And I think that Mr. and Mrs. Carter and Dixie and Serge have stepped up and did something incredible. So I either have to say Jeff Jarrett or the Carter family.
Good answer, good answer. Austin Aries. You're the man on top of the mountain right now.
This is going to be a little controversial, but, you know, I think that this person, it's a shame that they're not in the Hall of Fame already. You know, we're in a society of forgiving people, and I think this guy has paid his price for his mistakes, and I really think it's time that we get Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. I say Pete Rose has over 4,000 hits. This man belongs in the Hall of Fame. Let's get off this, people. Let's get Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, even if it's the TNA Hall of Fame. Huh? What do you say? Huh, people? Pete Rose.
All right, Icon, coming down to you now. You're number 1. Who's going to be number 2?
Yeah, I mean, can I say that even I agree with Kurt. In number 1, I mean, I think Dixie knows that if she would have told me about it, I probably would have put the kibosh on it, or I would have tried, put it that way. Because, you know, if you, especially active wrestlers, I'm still in the ring and I'm still active. So, you know, you got guys like Jeff Jarrett, you got AJ Styles. How about this guy right here? I mean, there's just so many that really qualify who came before I did, who built the foundation of this company before I ever showed up.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to find out, you know, I guess next year. But as far as I'm concerned, number 1 is number 1. He's sitting right next to me right now. The Sting, you said some interesting words there. You said building a foundation. And right now, Dixie Carter just announced it for our UK fans. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be called TNA Wrestling British Boot Camp, where we are taking 4 prospective talents, putting them in our developmental system, seeing how they do, and if they can make it to the main roster, you might see them on Impact. So the question is, will the next star be coming out of the United Kingdom? That's a big question we're going to answer with British Boot Camp. My question for you, who is your favorite British wrestler of all time? Spanning many decades, go back as far as you want, any organization, any time, your personal favorite. And we had a lot of different answers on this one, especially with our UK fans, so it'll be interesting to see how they match up compared to yours. Let's take our first spin. Let's start with the champ, Austin Aries.
Well, obviously, I think that one of the popular names, you can talk about the British Bulldogs, Dynamite Kid, and obviously Davey Boy Smith. If you're going completely for British-style wrestling, I think you'd be amiss if you didn't mention Johnny Saint's name, who obviously is a legend in that form of wrestling. So those maybe would be 2 of my favorites with a different style of each.
Yeah, no question. Great answer. Kurt.
You know, I've been in the business for 13 years, and I didn't really watch wrestling before that. You know, I have studied film, but I've always liked the style of Dynamite Kid. He reminded me a lot of the intensity I bring into the ring, and I think that, you know, he was well ahead of his time, and you know, he had a great build back in the day, and his style. Obviously, he's in a wheelchair now, God bless him, but it's because of the sacrifices he made inside that ring. And I know that a lot of guys will agree with me that he's probably one of the best British wrestlers that anyone's ever seen.
No question about it. No question about it. You know, you talk about the stars of years gone by. I mean, when you bring up stars to British fans, they'll say Rollerball Rocco, they'll say Big Daddy, they'll say Johnny Saint. From back in the day, sure. But, you know, a lot of the people that watch wrestling now, this generation would say maybe a Nigel McGuinness, would say maybe a Doug Williams. Sting, I'm curious, your thoughts. Who is your favorite of all time?
I'm not doing this to hop on the bandwagon. I really mean this, but Dynamite Kid. I mean, I went to Japan with Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy, for that matter, way back in, what was it, like 87 or somewhere around there. And both those guys were amazing, and Dynamite was doing stuff that you see today, but he was doing it then. Talk about somebody who was innovative and creative and sacrificed his body. I mean, dynamite all the way. Special emphasis on dynamite.
Seems to be a popular answer. James Storm, what do you think?
I'd have to say Liverpool lefty. He was good.
He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, I would have to say, you know, nowadays a lot of people will say, you know, because they watch, you know, wrestling now, will probably say like William Regal, you know, if people didn't watch it back then or whatever. But I have to say, you know, the British Bulldog, because I watched a lot of the Calgary shows and stuff like that. So my answer would be the British Bulldog.
All right. Seems to be a very popular answer as far as British great talent is concerned. We're going to find out our next big UK star with British Boot Camp. You got to check your local listings for that. Very exciting stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, what a panel we have here. I mean, can you get any better than James Storm, Sting, Ferragamo, and Austin Aries? We'll see you next time right here on the Spin Cycle.